And, honestly, if you like social media, then change your behavior on it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the algorithm is set to have you look at what you're clicking.
Mm-hmm. Might only be once you clicked it, and they'll give you a bunch of it, but you've at least.
But over time, yeah, I mean,
you're going to train it.
There's I know, I've seen it. There's a ton on social media about positive affirmations.
Yes.
And positive self-talk, personal growth. There are so many self-help channels, videos, audio. I mean, you name it, it's a plethora. It is not hiding with some locked key that you have to figure out. No, it is freely available right there. And so if you do like the medium of something like social media, change the way you interact with it and create a benefit instead of pulling yourself down. Spend that hour consuming something that's going to lift you up.
Yes, I love that. So once we get to the point where we feel like we have at least gotten accustomed to having self-compassion, the next thing we recommend in the tool isn't to just go out and start practicing giving compassion to others. We put another step in there, and that's receiving compassion first. And that's because, at least in my view, it's really challenging to receive without giving something, and it's really challenging to give without receiving something. There's a balance that starts. But when we practice receiving first, often that's the more challenging thing sometimes. Individuals, it's a little easier to give something, but it's a little more challenging to allow it to come inward. So when we can focus and practice receiving by being present and sharing in a compassionate exchange, and then allowing someone to show us compassion and help us and not turning it away, which I know, again, I often accepting help was a challenge for me because I was raised, and I thank my parents for this often because it has helped contribute to who I am, but I was very much raised in a very independent, take care of yourself, you don't need to be reliant on anyone else, you can do this kind of approach. But the counterbalance to that was then I didn't learn how to accept help very well. Not even when I needed it. And so as I learned compassion for myself, I also had to learn how to receive help and compassion from others. And so noticing when somebody is being compassionate and not turning that away. Not saying no, thank you, I've got this. But being willing to take it and then give gratitude for it. Because then we learn how to give it. We can't give what we've never received. And so there's that whole exchange too.
Yeah. It's well said. That's such a great point about we can't give it unless we've received it. That's why the more love we give to ourselves, and the more love we receive from ourselves, the more love we can give to others. So it's like we are becoming, as you say, independently dependent.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about even just when we look at it from a kind of a bigger view in terms of like, okay, well, how does that work practically? Well, our relationship, we talk about this all the time. And one of the last ones, transparency, we talked about, I don't need you, but when we're together, we enhance each other.
Yes.
So that's the very essence of what I feel like you're talking about. It's like, that's it in action in terms of a relationship. But what about the relationship with yourself? And that's what I feel like you're diving into beautifully here.
It's like that snowball effect, right? I start self-love and self-focus is like that small little snowball that keeps rolling and rolling, and then it compounds on itself, because the more you learn about yourself and the more you grow, the more you expand, the more you become aware of this mountain of snow that's all around you, and it just keeps going and building upon itself and building upon itself. And suddenly, before you know it, you're like this huge, huge ball that just cannot be stopped, and you are on your way. And so it's amazing, but it's got to start with that little bit of momentum within yourself that just keeps going. And we all, if you need tools, then visit the site and find the tools that fit for you, but find tools that will keep you in motion and keep you gathering so that you can reach that space.
Right. Again, YouTube, Facebook, I mean, you name it, all these social medias, if you were to type something in like that, it would have it. But yeah, I mean, we've definitely compiled all of our tools in the Heart Leader Toolbox, and that's completely free, with podcasts and worksheets and all those high-level discussions from different walks of life, all talking about it. So, it's out there. We just need to know what we're searching for, and it'll be there.
Yeah. And ultimately, once we've come to understand self-compassion, and then we're able to receive compassion, it's almost like we set ourselves on fire with compassion, and it just goes and it becomes so innate and ingrained in who we are that holding compassion for others becomes almost second nature. And so there isn't a lot that we need to practice at that level, because as you so brilliantly pointed out at the beginning, then I recognize that your suffering is my suffering. And I allow that my suffering is your suffering. So when you desire to help me, I'm not going to block you out. And so there is that connection that starts to form. And we do just start to lift each other up. And the connections that we form become stronger in the process, which is why this is a big Heart Leader tool. And it comes later in the flow. Here we are, we're several months into our podcasts and talking about heart leaders. But once it's there, it is building a building block for us individually, each, and then in our relationships, in our communities, in our businesses. It snowballs.
Right.